What's up, everybody? Welcome back. I'm Carlos. This is my channel, Just Ask Carlos, and today's video is going to be on the top 5 tips that I can give you if you are using Infuze. And if you don't know what Infuze is, take a look down in the description and I will leave a link to that video, and I'll also link it at the end as well. Infuze is basically a water system that allows you to add your own flavoring to any bottle using their special lid. This lid has a flavor tank where you put your own flavoring inside of it, and then you adjust the dial on the back to decide how much flavor you want while you're drinking, and it takes all of the boringness out of water and gives you something fun and interesting, and you can change the flavors whenever you want. So that's the bonus. But I wanted to give y'all my top five, maybe this is something more aggressive, top 5 tips on how to use your Infuze bottle to get the best results. First, I want to give you the most important tip that I've seen so many people ask about, have this problem, share this concern, and while it is a valid concern, there's such an easy way to address it. So number 1, get my bottle. So tip number 1, when you are drinking your infused water and you want to change out the flavor tank, this dial in the back all the way to one side, wide open, make sure that you close it. Second, take a drink out of it to clear it. Even if it's still full, mine is empty. People say that the flavor tank leaks, the lid leaks, but they've improved this lid. First way you'll know, there's a screw in there, so you can actually take it apart, remove the top of the lid, and you can get to the main part to clean it. So if you have problems with leaking, turn it off, sip, then take the flavor tank out. So mine, I do have a very noticeable color, which is strawberry watermelon. When I place that back in, it's locked in, it's nice and tight, and I can adjust my flavor. When it runs out again, turn it off, pull the flavor tank. You shouldn't have any leaking. If you have any leaking, it's very minimal from between changing out cartridges, drinking, etc. That's your first tip. Turn off the flavor, take a sip, and then remove the cartridge so that way you can fill it up. Tip number 2 is going to be on filling your bottle. This sounds like a simple thing, but I'm telling you, if you do it this way, you'll get the best results. So let's head on over to my water fountain. We'll go ahead and fill this up, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. Let's go. Okay, for this next tip, filling your water bottle. So let's say you've gotten to the end, you're drinking it, no water's coming out, maybe a little bit of water. Turn off the flavor. There's a recurring theme here. Make sure you turn the flavor off, because if you don't, that's where your leaking comes from. Next, when you unscrew your lid, that vacuum seal that you get holding that water into the lid, it will come loose. Might not drip right away. Go ahead and sip. Once you hear it's empty, go ahead and hold on to this, but make sure you close the top, because you don't want this leaking while you're filling it. So I'm gonna go ahead and fill up with some water. You have your lid here, it's face up. Your flavor cartridge is still in there. You close the top, you don't have any water leaking. You may get a couple of drops that leak, but that's just how water works. I fill mine to the very neck of the bottle because this rubber straw doesn't take up much water, so it doesn't displace it. Very important, open the lid. When you go to put the rubber straw back into it, it's going to force some air out of the top. That's why we take the drink before and we remove it completely. You put that on, go ahead and start drinking. If you notice that the suction isn't there, go ahead and crack the lid, let some air in, and that'll allow you to prime it. Once you get water, tighten it up. Simple as that. Tip number 3 is regarding overnight. So, do you set up your water bottle at night so that way in the morning you have cold water? Well, I do. And if you haven't thought about it yet, you should give it a try. Take your bottle. Doesn't matter if it's completely full of water, if it's completely empty. Get it to the point where you're ready to put some ice in here. If you don't use ice, I highly recommend it, because on top of keeping this thing nice and cold for about 12 hours, adding the ice extends that because the ice stays solid. This is from yesterday. It is 12 noon. You can still hear the ice in there. For tip number 3, go ahead and take your bottle of choice, whatever it is, doesn't matter the size, and fill it about 1/4 to 1/3 of ice. What that does The ice inside is going to keep your water nice and cool. And since you have an insulated Infuze bottle or any other stainless steel bottle or even a plastic bottle, it'll keep your water nice and cold overnight. And that way when you wake up, you have nice cold water. You don't have to worry about throwing it in the refrigerator or in the freezer. I highly recommend not putting this in the freezer. But anyway, 1/3 ice. Fill it up to the neck with water. Go ahead and get your suction on. Make sure that it's primed and ready to go. And then get your last drink before you go to sleep. But what you should do, turn off your flavor. Clear your drink. Why is that important? If you decide to drink and go to sleep, watch the spout. That vacuum holds the flavored water into the lid, and that's what prevents the backwashing. So the improvements on this lid have given you a lot of benefits, but there's one thing you want to be careful. Leaving that concentrated flavor in the lid is going to cause problems with a little bit of blockage. You may have issues with staining. So turn your flavor off, clear your lid, close it up, and good night. Now tip number 4 is just general understanding of what the flavor tank does. It holds suction so that way the water, as you drink it, doesn't backwash. I'm going to pull the flavor tank out. Now this flavor tank has the lid where you're going to fill any flavor of choice. It has this spring-loaded section here, so when you pull suction, it brings flavor out of this flavor tank into the water as you drink it. And then of course the spring pushes back to close it off so it doesn't leak. And then third, if you remember when you first got this, it had that cover that said remove me. That's the air valve to let air back into it as you're drinking to keep that vacuum seal. So when you're cleaning your flavor cartridge, make sure you get something to clean out that air valve. Make sure that you're cleaning and you're pushing in that spring-loaded valve here. And then of course, if you want to remove this cap, make sure you get inside of those threads and then put the cap back on. So that is the flavor tank, but I also have one more suggestion. I've got my flavor of choice. I'm going to open up this lid. Notice how it's filled one side more than the other? That's because there's still air trapped in here. Work that air out of the one side so you can see everything is filled on there, and then continue filling the rest. So I typically get about 3 fill-ups out of each one of those flavor enhancers. Now I'm going to put this back into my lid, and it locks right in with no problems. If you ever have problems with the suction being wrong, you're not able to get any water through it, they do give you some tips on how to prime the system. This tip number 5, which I actually showed you in tip number 3. You run out of water, you fill it up, you put the lid on, and you realize the suction is all wrong. All you have to do is drink it before you close it and seal it. Nice solid stream of water. Lock it in, and you are perfect. So that's my 5 tips on how to use your Infuze bottle, how to get the best results to help with getting the most out of my Infuze. Now this, I wanted to show off, was my Father's Day gift. Thank you to my fiance and my daughter. Awesome present. Thank you to everybody watching. I appreciate your support. Make sure you like this video and drop some comments below. Do you have tips that I can maybe include in a future video? Is there something that you do differently? Please let me know. Your comments are what feed more ideas for future videos. So thank you all so much for watching. I'm Carlos. This is my channel, Just Ask Carlos. And I will definitely see you all on the next one.